Horror games have been getting an unprecedented amount of appraisal for the past decade. Said no one ever. Sure, you've had your Resident Evil 7s, Alien Isolations, and some OSAs. But for every Resident Evil, we get 10 new Five Nights at Freddy's games. Hey guys, welcome back to this very scary game, Five Nights at Freddy's. Jeez, that sure is spooky, my ladies and genitals. Now, don't get me wrong, Five Nights at Freddy's has got a deep, intricate lore under its belt. But where the entire gameplay for 6 games is being strapped to a single location or multiple sentry posts with the occasional "as a reminder you suck," this lacks to compel me. Although 5 years ago, when the concept was interestingly new and I was 14, it was more like, "Oh, wowie, this is incredible! I love Markiplier!" But the effect wore off gradually every title. I can appreciate its storytelling, but to scare someone isn't really its strong point. Sure, you're gonna get scared from the occasional death. Sudden loud noises and quick movements do that. It becomes hard to appreciate something that's so easy to achieve. Yes, we know. Boo-hoo, jump scare's bad. Jump scare's cheap. Quiet at the back of the room. I'm looking at you, Tony. Everyone has already established that. But that's what I want to concentrate on today. The value of scaring someone inside a horror game. With a little context to the game that I will be talking about. Hold your horses. No, I'm not going to be complaining and whining about how horror games are bad. Instead, I want to give appraisals because at least out of the 10 FNAF games, we do eventually find a shining diamond underneath all that rubble. And that diamond-encrusted Rolex is Dread Halls. Now, I'm usually a person that isn't scared by movies or video games. Big of me, I know. The last scary movie I remember watching was The Joker. The person next to me was alone, and he looked sleepless and agitated. Very spooky. I recall playing Dread Halls for the first time a couple years ago, and for a game with a simple goal given to the player, I couldn't bear more than 10 minutes of playing out of fear. Everything moves so slow and ominously, leaving the impending negative results up to your imagination. And I'm not the only one to think this. There are other people who is just as much as a terrified Chad than I am. The only difference is that everyone else is it's made from soy milk. Dread Halls is a very short game in comparison to larger horror titles, but that is for the better. It allows it to be savored. It finishes just right. It doesn't drag on. In other words, I think I'm done playing it. The story itself, it's pretty surface level. People find their way into the labyrinth through gateways between two worlds, and they're trying to find their way out. That's about it. This is discovered through the big talking faces on the walls, and reading the notes that are left around. In the beginning, these notes are innocent enough, sharing their confusion and discomfort. This is also a gateway to allow empathy from the player towards the previous visitors, such as this note. I was never scared of small places, but the walls of these narrow corridors seem to surround me at all times. I feel confined, entombed. It's difficult to breathe. These people seem like pussies. Let me leave them a note.
Excuse me, 20, but you should have stand Ariana, just saying.
Although the story told about the labyrinth is simple, the experiences shared within these notes can be unnerving, adding to your mysterious journey, making you just a bit more aware of your surroundings. I better get going. Wait, what if I do this? You come across these faces on the wall very often. I like to call these the Versace trophies. They're supposed to be the watchers. You can pay them a small sum to ask them a single question at a time. Or you could just steal from them.
Now I'm about to steal this earring that dropped. We've got a burglar!
You can ask them about why they are there, the labyrinth, the creatures, her sisters, maybe yourself, and why Tupac is hidden in Serbia. Essentially, they're your guide. After all that, they ball up and you'll have to find another. Upon reading more of the notes later in the game, you can begin to notice that they become more aggressively superstitious. Ignorant with the unknown in the labyrinth. I mean, come on. Your mate is deceased, mate. Even as far as succumbing to the shadows and choosing not to trust the guide of the Versace trophies. Embracing the deathly results. Agony. Freedom. Despair, and understanding. Well, this person seems like a bitch. It feels like there is a sacrificial tone here. To understand and have freedom, but as a trade-off, to be in pain, despair, and agony. It's important to note that sacrifice is commonly mentioned throughout the game. Could this be what they are sacrificing? There are multiple connections between the notes and the player. For example, the purpose for the previous visitors to be here seems to be for thrill seeking. So it's not hard to believe that you're playing Dreadhalls for the same purpose.
I think I got some more confidence now. The more I play this, the less I want to.
The less I play, the better. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the goal of these notes, to create a bond between the player and the past visitors, as well as creating a story on top, of course. If you choose to read the notes, oftentimes you can end up getting advice every so often, but it's up to you whether you decide to trust them. I mean, they are just pieces of paper. Why do you gotta listen to an inanimate object? Book bad. And with that out of the way, let's talk about why it's as spooky as I say it is. This thing right here, the thing I'm holding. Yes, the VR headset. You are right. It's hard to understand how difficult this game can be to play if you're not using a VR headset, or have never used one for that matter. Look at you, sat comfortably in your DX Racer and your FaZe hoodie, sipping your Monster away with your Razer headphones that your mom bought you. Yes, I get that you played Resident Evil with the lights off and the curtains closed. Good for you. Just hear me out. The moment you slap this bad boy on, all your self-esteem is just non-existent. Remember when I mentioned Five Nights at Freddy's at the start of the video and how its effect no longer holds up? Oh, how convenient. FNAF got transformed into a VR game with the same rules and same everything, except you are in a 3D environment, which will naturally elevate the intensity. I discovered this through viewing rigorous amounts of Markiplier videos during my research.
I'm jiggling the wiggler. Is he there? If I lean out, is he gonna be there?
The man is more terrifying than the game himself. I feel more inclined to play this solely for VR. It's another layer that isn't disposable fat. On top of that, I just want to say one thing in advance. If Dreadhalls were to have multiple sequels with minor differences, the charm would drain out of its methods. The moment you play Dreadhalls, it instantly turns from being safe in your bedroom to holy frick, I'm all alone in this cave and anything can kill me. To play Dreadhalls is to sign away your so-called hard iron masculinity.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
There's a lot more comfortability playing this game if you're sat down compared to when you're standing up. You're in an open space. There's that sense of vulnerability. One of the strong points and biggest points about this game is the enemies. You spend the whole game crawling through narrow hallways followed by the unknown. And when you come face to face with a beast you have no knowledge of, you are left with the responsibility to understand their weaknesses.
Okay. Okay.
Unless you die and it tells you anyway. That is the only thing I dislike about the gameplay. Other than that, it can remain terrifying re-encountering the creatures whilst knowing what they are capable of. It's a mixed bag, really. A rewarding and unnerving experience to enjoy moments where you discover a different creature, only to understand its weakness solely by observation.
Oh, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. Oh.
I feel strong that this game pulls off fear better than other horror games like Resident Evil 7. I know, hold on, lower your torches. Let me digress quickly. Fear can be elevated by unknown entities. Two examples, Resident Evil 7 and Alien Isolation. Both titles I appreciate for the horror aspects, but I've noticed a common flaw. Reoccurrences. Now that's not to say Dreadhalls doesn't throw the same creature at you every so often, because it does and it will, but nearly every new level it presents a new unknown for you to try to understand, whether it be the creatures or the map layout. In Resident Evil 7, the game is a fixed route every playthrough, the same map, but this is necessary to storytelling in this case. You commonly find yourself against both Jack and Margaret Baker, depending on what stage of the game you're in. Is it Margaret or Marguerite? Marguerite. That sounds like, Marmite.
Lucas, not too much because he's too busy playing the new Modern Warfare.
Oh, Evelyn! I'm just trying to show him!
You are being chased by a single enemy at a time, and you are left with two choices when encountered. Hide and progress to the boss fight area to kill, or stun them constantly and progress to the boss fight area to kill. In addition to this, there's a layer of humanization, as they can speak.
Get that food in my belly.
This is great. Keep it coming.
Of course, that's fine because of the context and story behind the family and the dire necessity of dialogue, but I think it makes it less scary and can sometimes be humorous. Later in the game, you become better equipped with stronger weapons, which can detract from the vulnerability.
That goddamn grandma.
Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli.
Alien Isolation, it's the same. Fix throughout every playthrough and chased by the bad people. But instead, you are chased by a single xenomorph throughout the game. But obviously, as time passes, the unknown becomes the known. Spending 10 hours evading the same enemy would become less intimidating because you know its methods and you begin to follow a routine when encountering. Quick, hide inside the locker. Huh? I don't remember that being there. I believe the developers understood this, so in addition to the xenomorph, they'd throw in synth and human enemies into the mix. But they'd become easy to understand quick too, because, well, human embodiments. It doesn't make you question the abilities. Man does shoot. Synth does strangle. The only time I got spooked was when a synth would pretend to be dead and grab my ankle, all to tell me about Raid Shadow Legends.
Please download Raid Shadow Legends today.
Ah, jeez. And like Resident Evil 7, near the end of the game, you become better equipped, taking away the feel of vulnerability. In Dread Halls, you are equipped with your lantern, map, lockpicks, and RuneScape gold. Left to listen to the growls of the walls, the steps you make, the passive sounds of the beast around the corner, and the sweet, sweet sound of... I found myself taking multiple breaks during recording of my playthrough, taking breathers and regaining my energy. It can be exhausting.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it?
Yes, Roy. Yes. If you ever run into any issues and you are stuck, my advice is to find a coping mechanism. Not only does it pass the time, but you can assert your official dominance.
Would you like our finest oils? Or maybe you would like some RuneScape gold? Perhaps you would like a lock... Oh, never mind.
Everything is procedurally generated. Even after beating the game, you get an option to run a random dungeon. The stages are different on every playthrough, so you can forget about looking up a guide. You bitch. This game will not hold your hand. It's up to you to find your way out. You are given a map, and just like Minecraft, whatever path you take, it clears out on the map, so you won't get lost. That said, I wouldn't mind a bare bones game mode. No map, no lockpicks, and a limited oil supply. It would definitely help the second playthrough of the game bring back the intensity of the initial experience. Anyway, the goal every stage is to find a specific room accompanied by a podium with an eye laid on top of it. These eyes are applied onto the podiums in a hub area. Upon placing the eye on a podium, another stage opens up, followed by a purple aura guiding the way, because you were too blind to see the gate rise. The journey to finding these eyes is a challenging one. You are at risk in every corner.
Ah, no, go, go. Oh, fuck. Oh, go.
Unless you're in that big hall with the majestic music playing, at no point are you safe in this game. You might think you're all safe and sound, talking to the Versace woman on the wall, but no. The game does not halt for you. No.
Oh, for fuck. I'm about to head out. No, I'm out.
You have to adapt your awareness of your surroundings. You may have a lantern to illuminate your path, but it doesn't shine that far in the narrow hallways, so you have to stay alert. If you don't pay attention to your gaming senses, then for punishment,
nah.
And if you spent the whole level sprinting because you're just as impatient as boomers on Black Friday...
Oh, fuck. I'm dead. I can't move. I'm out of stamina.
You'd be out of stamina and get nay-nayed by the big dog. This teaches you to be patient. The labyrinth is so compressed, as well as dark and scary, that you want to escape as quickly as possible. Oh, fuck. That's the common trap people get caught in. The hardest task in this game is to face your fears. The game is called Dread Halls, after all. If you come headfirst into a Silent Hill adaptation of a Demogorgon and you're not evading it by running an Olympic sprint track, it's going to add to the intensity. But you face that fear to evade it. The fear of not being knowledgeable of what it's capable of. Taking it slow allows you to save stamina, observe, and slowly peek around the corners to see what's there, preventing you from rushing into the unknown. Taking it fast, well, you get everything done quicker at the larger risk of death. For new players, the better option would be the latter. I mean, if you run into situations quicker than the we-like Fortnite kids, you may find yourself facing two enemies together. Oh, I might as well just give up. Usually, if you're not being tailed in the hallways, there's always something waiting for you inside the rooms you check. You go in these rooms to find supplies, lockpicks, lantern oils, and the fictional currency, the Greek euro. From the beginning of my playthrough, I was opening doors without hesitation, just going in on a day trip to the corner store to pick up my necessary oils to hide from the American government. Depending on my luck, I might have had several encounters entering these rooms, but that was enough to degrade myself down to a state of lacking poise.
Yo, I ain't fucking with that. No.
I got spaghetti legs. Halfway in my playthrough, I found myself anticipating to open the doors and questioning whether if it's really worth going into.
Okay.
This is fear of the unknown, and Dread Halls pulls this off so well. You don't know what's in that room, you don't know what's beyond your light, you don't know what they can do, you don't know the layout of the labyrinth, and you don't know what's going to happen. And when nothing is explained, your imagination really takes the leading charge when playing this game. I'd see a skeleton lying on a slab, and I'd begin to freak out thinking it was gonna get up and do the funny Halloween dance, even though it was really just world decoration. Or even when the stretched faces first appeared. Naturally, I thought it was gonna wake up and sell me Fallout 76.
We were caught off guard with the amount of issues that we had.
How scared you get is limited to yourself. If you are going to create a horror with the intention to unsettle and scare the player, the fear of the unknown method is probably the ideal route to take. Or you could just throw in a bunch of jump scares, because why not? It keeps our budget low. When I finally finished the game, the sigh of relief I gave matched the new environment placed in game. The freedom of the outdoors. It was finally all over. Dread Halls was a stressful experience. I had never experienced something like this before, what with games like Soma, Resident Evil 7, Alien Isolation, and Outlast. Also, I mention Resident Evil 7 and Alien a lot because they share a bunch of similarities. I don't hate these games, it's just comparisons, that's all. Hopefully in the future, we could get more VR titles that can share the attributes of Dread Halls. It's truly something that I can appreciate over most modern horror titles. Although it's short and it's not really as deep, if you're looking for a good scare and nothing else is really doing it for you, Dread Halls is probably the best shout.
Stay away, you. You can't get me from here. You're just a game.
If you have VR, it's definitely worth playing. The developers, White Dog Games, don't seem to have a long history of titles underneath them. Actually, wait, what are they doing? But you can bet your silent brain that I'm interested in what they will do next. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you're epic, and please, oh god, please stop sending me your skin flakes in the mail. That's gross. I have your address, and I'm going to send the IRS to your door.